there, I'm Tara from Teach Without Tears. I can't believe that we are already more than a month into the new school year. I'm going to start doing once a week, every Sunday, a question and answer session. Just things that I see a lot of people asking. For right now, I'm pulling my questions from Facebook groups that I'm part of, but I will be taking questions from you. If you have a question you want to ask, I will happily answer it in one of these question and answer sessions. You can either email a question to me at teachwithouttears@gmail.com, or you can just drop your question in the comments here and I will see them and be sure to include it in one of these Q&A sessions. Today's question I have seen over and over in a lot of different Facebook groups lately. And even though we're a month into the school year, a lot of people are still asking, what do I do with my Chatty class? I was always able to tell within the first 5 minutes of the first day of school what kind of class I'm going to have. Some years they come in, they unpack, they sit down, start on the paper I have on their desk for them, and it is silent. And that signals to me that this group is not going to be terribly chatty. Other years, it's the complete opposite. They're already coming in, talking to each other. The volume is extremely loud as I'm trying to meet with the students as they come in the morning and greet them in the hallway. So I can tell from that volume level that first day whether my class is going to be extremely chatty or if they're going to be a quieter group. When I have a chatty class, there are a lot of different things that I do to try and manage that volume level. The first thing that I noticed my first several years of teaching was that by the end of that first week, I always lost my voice. I was trying to talk over them instead of using something else to get their attention, and I couldn't talk. Over the weekend, I was talking like this to my family, and I knew that I had to change something so that I wasn't suffering because they were so loud. So what I started doing was using sounds to get their attention. Rather than me trying to talk, I would use either a bell or a whistle or some other sound to try and get their attention. Because that way I didn't have to talk loudly and it still brought them back together and stopped them from talking. So that's my first suggestion, is find ways to get their attention without you having to say a single word. Just make sure that when you do your signal, whether it's a whistle, a bell, turning the lights off, I know a lot of teachers like to clap, any of those things will work. Just make sure that you wait until everybody has stopped talking before you start talking. Otherwise, it's going to lose its effect and they're going to learn to ignore it rather than stopping and listening for what your directions are next. I know a lot of teachers now really like the wireless doorbells also. Those work really well. They have different chimes you can set it to, so you can even have a different sound for what you want them to do. Another thing that I really like doing is changing up the seating arrangements. The beginning of the year, you get to know your kids and you know who are the best friends, who likes to talk a whole lot, and then you can switch up how they're sitting. My favorite way to seat my students is in groups. I like the collaboration. I like that they can talk when they're supposed to, but it also is the way that leads to the most talking. So when I have a really chatty class, I change up my seating arrangements. I really like the U shape because that way I can walk around the inside and monitor really easily. I know some people like to go back to just rows. I sometimes put them in pairs since groups of 4 and 5, the volume level gets a lot louder than when they're just in twos. They still have someone to turn and talk to, but it's not as large of a group to talk to, and then the volume stays down a little bit. When they are sitting in groups, I really like to do team challenges because my students always respond very well to being challenged to do something. So I put the numbers of the different groups up on the board, and then when everybody in the group is working quietly, or has their things out when they're supposed to because they listen to my directions instead of talking, they earn a point. And they always like to see which group can earn the most points. And in my classroom, those points then transfer over to Class Dojo, which is another thing that I love doing to control the volume in my classroom. My students earn points for working quietly, and this is great for independent work time or centers time. I always take my laptop with me, and I have Class Dojo up on my screen on my projector. And when a student is working quietly, I give them a point and it dings, and the entire class can hear it ding. They don't get to see who got the point, but that noise alone makes everybody refocus, go back to what they're supposed to be doing, and it cuts down on the talking a lot. So I like using a lot of different sounds to get my students' attention. Another thing I do to cut down on the chattiness is give my students talk breaks. If they're a chatty group, they really do like to talk, and you can use that to your advantage. Have those turn and talk moments. Have the group chat time about a question that you give them. Just make sure that they're focused and not getting off topic about things that they want to be talking about. When you have those group talk times, a way that I like to bring them back together when I'm ready to get their attention, because that can be really hard sometimes. They just want to keep talking, and even though I'm ready to get them back, they are not ready to come back. So one thing that I use is the expert. I really like this because it also chooses a group for me. So if I have 6 different groups, each one is assigned a color, and I push the button and it makes noise. So that noise makes them stop talking and watch because they want to see what color gets picked. So if it's the yellow group that gets picked, they're the group that has to answer my question that they were just discussing. This works really well for that. I love this. They do too. Another thing that I do during independent work time, because when they're working by themselves, reading workshop time, writing workshop time, there are those little conversations going on while I'm trying to meet with a group. So what I do at that time is I walk around with my little cones. These were only $1 at the dollar store, and they work wonders. They have little sayings on them like great job. That one says great job too. This one says well done. So little sayings just showing them that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. So at the end of one of my group rotations, I'll just get up, walk around, and put a few cones on a few desks around the room. And that's a signal that those people were doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. And that makes my others, again, refocus, realize, I must have been talking while she wanted me to be working quietly. And then they have a chance to get one at after my next group is done. So what these, when students get them on their desk, at the end of the day, anybody who has a cone on their desk either gets to pick a prize out of the prize bin, or some days I give them extra free Chromebook time at the end of the day, and that's really motivating for them. They like getting the cones and that extra time. So those are my top tips for handling a chatty class. If you use all of those things together, different times, it works really, really well to mix it up so that they don't get so used to one thing and then they just start tuning it out. If you would like some more suggestions for dealing with a talkative class, I dropped the link down below to a blog post I wrote all about how to get your students' attention without saying a single word. There are also links down there to all of the things that I showed you, the expert, the cones, on Amazon, so you can click through and take a look at those as well. Remember, if you have any questions that you would like me to address in a Q&A session, you can either email me at teachwithouttears@gmail.com or just drop your questions in the comments below and I will see them and be sure to schedule them for an upcoming Q&A session. If you have any other suggestions for dealing with a chatty class, you can drop those in the comments as well. That will help other teachers too. Make sure that you have subscribed and turned on notifications so that you will hear about all of the next videos that are coming out. I will see you again soon. Bye.